Hello and welcome to Soul Sensations. Today, I am privileged to be chatting with one of my favourite gospel and R&B singers, Miss Dorothy Moore. Hello, Dorothy.
Hello there, Steve. How you doing?
I'm all right, my darling. How are you keeping? You okay?
I'm doing wonderful now that I'm speaking with you.
Oh, bless you. I tell you what we're going to do, right? We're going to go way back. We're going to start from the beginning, the early days,
Wow.
right?
Okay.
Right.
Okay, that'll be fun.
So, just a quick one. Let's start from the beginning. Where were you born? Where were you born?
I was born in Jackson, Mississippi.
Now, was any of your family musical?
Yes, my father and my mother. My mother she didn't go professional, but my father was a gospel singer. He sang with the Five Blind Boys of Mississippi.
Now, I've heard about them. Now, did they actually did they release some tracks or not? Did
Now
some of this?
they are not some people get it confused because they are not the ones from Alabama.
All right, okay,
These are from Mississippi.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, while you were growing up in Mississippi, who were your influences
Oh wow, I guess
wise?
a lot of people. I had, let's see, there was it was gospel singers, the David sisters, Shirley Caesar, and the Caravans,
Uh-huh.
and uh and then I moved on over to Etta James. I just gave you just a couple in gospel,
Yeah, yeah.
but
That's
Etta James, I used to, as a matter of fact, I used to sing her songs when I was in the seventh grade. I think
and
she
I
was
was gonna.
just
I was.
she was just she was sort of just going out. I don't know if her music was just going out
Uh-huh.
or what,
I,
but she was. I sang her songs. Let's see, what was that song? Church Bell Rings. I think that was one. I heard Church Bell Ring. Do you? I don't know if that's the title, but that was one of them.
uh-huh.
And then I moved on up to Wilson Pickett. It was men too, and James Brown.
I
You know,
love
I
listening
I
to.
I I love. I was singing all these people's songs. Because I had a big band uh from all from Mississippi. We all went to school together.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, but
I was
that's who
gonna
I
ask.
listen. Those are some of the people I listen to.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
Aretha Franklin, of course.
Sorry, my darling.
I said, of course, Aretha Franklin
Oh,
in her beginnings.
oh, the early classic soul is absolutely brilliant. I tell you. But I'm thinking now. Now I don't know if you were like your schools have different ways of us because you've got your first, second, third, fourth grade, then you got high school.
Hmm.
Over here we've got like juniors, seniors, and wherever.
Yeah.
Um, Now I know you started singing at a very early age in church,
Hmm.
but tell me now. I've been doing my little research. Okay,
Okay.
you went to Jackson State University,
Yes, I did.
and that's where you formed the Poppies.
Yes,
Tell me about the
that's right.
Poppies.
Well, I was just in the 12th grade, entering as a freshman,
Uh-huh.
and the other two girls at the time was that one was a sophomore and one was I think a junior,
Uh-huh.
and I had just entered Jackson State. It wasn't a university then; they just called it Jackson State College.
All
But
right. Yeah.
now, it's to have gone on to be, JSU, the university.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So
And
how
so,
so how
yeah,
old were you?
we we were background singers first for other stars.
All right. I never knew that.
We did before they decided a group.
Yeah. So who did you vaccine for?
We did background for Freddie Fender. He was a country and western singer, and he went on to be a great country western singer, a legend.
Yep.
And believe it or not, we did it for the Pointer Sisters. They needed background singers. Can you believe that?
I,
What happened? They really wasn't the Pointer Sisters yet.
no,
They
yeah,
was
yeah,
kind of they was, you have to begin in the beginning.
yes, I know what you're
So
saying.
they let us background them, not
Wow.
on their major hits, but and
You know,
then I did something for I can't think of her name. Wow. But
not
I'll
too right,
probably
Dorothy.
think of it later. But a lot of stars who was established, we you know,
Yeah. So when the Poppies decided to go solo, you actually had your first Billboard hit, didn't you, with Lullaby of Love?
yes, it was Lullaby of Love. We went to Nashville, Tennessee, and recorded that album under the production of Billy Sherrill.
Right.
And Billy Sherrill also produced Tammy Wynette. She was
Uh-huh.
one of the stars and a host of others. I really can't, you know, I was
S-
not familiar to
Yeah.
all of them back then, but Billy Sherrill
So
was known to be a great
how
producer.
how did Lullaby of Love come along? How did it come about? Who wrote it? How did you get it together? Who decided?
Wow, let me see who wrote this.
Like, no, no,
Oh,
you did say who
wow.
wrote it, but actually, how did that become a part of your tracks to sing? If you know what I mean? Out of
Well,
all the tracks.
yeah, we got those songs when we first went to Nashville.
All right.
It probably, I don't know if it was the Thomas brothers who wrote those songs or what, but we recorded them, like I said, in Nashville, Tennessee.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I was the lead singer of all the songs on that Lullaby of Love. I don't,
Yeah.
and so the other two girls, Rosemary Taylor at the time, and Patsy McEwen
Hmm.
was the other singer.
So from that, now I can't remember what label that was on, but after that track and after the Poppies, you went on
Hmm.
with to join various other record labels like Avco, GSF, and Chimneyville. But
Yeah,
it wasn't until you signed with Malaco, I hope I pronounced
yeah,
that right, that you had your first number one hit.
yeah. That's right. I was with Malaco when they went took me to Avco because I didn't know anything about Avco. I had made it to Malaco then, but I
Yeah.
was a back sing. I was a background singer then also.
See,
I wasn't known. I wasn't established as an artist and
yeah,
Misty Blue and all of that. I was doing background first, but I guess they was trying me out that way. Back in those days they didn't have any money, so they recorded singles on me
yeah,
instead of an album. The
yeah,
album came when I recorded first in 66. To back up, the Poppies had an album, but we only stayed together for 2 years.
right.
And then after those 2 years, I started singing solo because the other girls went on to do other things,
Other things. Oh, well,
and
that normally happens.
oh yeah, and so I didn't have to worry about but one suitcase to pack then, and I was always ready to go.
Well, it's
but
I think
but
it was quite
when I was with
UK.
Malaco, I was saying I did the background, but I did background for Gene Knight, who did Mr. Big Stuff.
Yeah.
I might be jumping ahead of myself.
Oh, no,
King Floyd,
go
King Floyd, a number of artists.
So I was just about to say that because I actually talked over there and I shouldn't have naughty boy me.
Hmm.
It was reversed in this country because there was no major hits from Morocco Records here, but there was from Avco.
Yeah, and I was, like I said, I was doing background work. I wasn't established when I did Gene Knights. I was,
Yeah.
I had recorded Misty Blue, but Misty Blue was on the shelf for 2 years, just waiting to be released Malaco didn't believe in Misty Blue at that time. They released something else. I think the song was "Cry Like a Baby" or something.
Yeah.
I can't recall right now, but I think Isaac Hayes recorded that song on In the Years.
Mm-hmm.
But the song just passed around to different artists, and until one of us might get a hit from it. So,
And then they
and
passed on to
then
you in
yeah,
70.
well, so but eventually, after Malaco put that recorded Mr. Blue on with me because they didn't have any money at the time. I recorded Mr. Blue. I recorded two other songs, and those two songs they made maybe one of them a hit. I mean, a
Yeah.
single. And
Uh-huh.
then after those 2 years, while I was waiting, I didn't know they was going to release it. They took it off the shelf and released it November '75, and in 3 months it was nominated for a Grammy in February '76.
Yeah. And you never knew about it because it was shelved.
I never knew about it. I knew about Miss Blue that it had been recorded, but it was on the shelf. They didn't want to release it because they didn't, for some reason, they didn't believe in the song. But one day they was in the studio, didn't have anything to do, so
Uh-huh.
they were just listening to songs and that they had recorded. And I think Eddie Floyd was there at the time,
Uh-huh.
and he was also listening. And they happened to play Mr. Blue, and Eddie heard it, and he told them that's the song they need to release, and that's how the rest is history.
So it was Eddie Floyd.
It was Eddie Floyd, yes.
Oh man, I know his son Kenny. And we chat quite a lot. I never knew it was
Mhm.
Eddie. That's so. It's so. Oh well, wow. I know
Yeah, yeah. And listen, I'm glad he was there listening because it might have still been on the shelf.
it might be still on the shelf. I know.
And so it was just a song lying there, but
Yeah.
all the other songs was up tempo that I had recorded previously because there was the Supremes and the let's see, I
Oh,
can't think of those songs.
those people.
The Marvelettes, and all those people. That
Yeah.
was happening back then. So they
Yeah.
was releasing nothing but fast song, up tempo songs on me.
Yep.
And Mr. Blue was a ballad.
Well, see, that's I was about to say that because when I interviewed Preston Glass, uh,
Mhm.
he was saying about certain tracks that like the sort of get and Ray Caviano, the same another record producer, it's like certain tracks get put aside because at that moment in time they think it's not the right time to release it.
That's right. Yeah. Uh huh.
Uh,
That's what happened. And Eddie Floyd, like I said, Eddie Floyd was there with them while they were listening to songs because, like I said, they didn't have anything to do. They wasn't making any money or
yeah,
anything. And, before they had tried on Avco and Chimneyville,
yeah,
nothing but singles.
yeah.
And then they put out Mr. Blue in 2 years later. And
Bang.
Mr. Blue, they couldn't stop it. I mean, it went straight to the top. And there I was singing on stage with stars that heard on radio and saw on TV.
Yeah. And then so what? But how did you find out? What? Here's one for you. This is just off the cuff.
Okay.
W- How did you feel when you found out after it's been shelved for 2 years and you didn't know that the record company had released it? Uh,
Uh-huh.
how did you feel inside when you found out it was number one?
Well, it was Tommy Couch, one of the producers, who told me, uh, and he gave me a call and asked me was I ready to go on the road.
Right.
And I didn't know what I had to ask him on the road.
Uh
I
huh.
didn't know. I didn't know if he was talking down the road or up the road or up the highway. And so, but he explained it to me that we had a hit song, and that's the way I found it out. Tommy Couch
Tommy
of
Couch.
Malaco, the president of Malaco, called me and told me.
Well, I tell you something. I hope he gave you a big fat check for pulling that record company out of the dumps. But
Yeah,
then,
listen, it took me off of stamps, but but hey, it put the peas on my table. I'll just put it like that.
I,
And I want you to know, uh, I think, well, I went to Madison Square Garden was the first place that I went to when I first went on and got in the big leagues. It would
so
be
your
nice
first
to say.
concert with Madison.
It was Madison Square Garden. And then I think, uh, let's see, in that same year, in 76 was when I really started going.
Yeah.
But 76 I came to the UK and
I went,
I appeared on the London Palladium.
yeah. Yeah. I was going to say that. I knew that. I didn't know for definite that was happened. But yeah.
That's right. That's right. And you all presented me with that platinum record
Yeah.
there that on the stage, and I don't forgot it was the orchestra or something, some instead of just a band, ordinary band. It was the
Oh,
orchestra that was
full
playing
orchestra.
behind me.
Because I think at the time when you were at the London Palladium, you'd been number one for so long in the UK charts that you did hit platinum.
Yeah,
And that's how they give you that's why you got presented with that at the Palladium.
at the Palladium.
At the Palladium, aye. Wow.
Ain't
Well,
that something? That's what I say. Wow, I didn't know. I mean, I had so many things to learn about immediately because I didn't know. I had to learn names, people
yeah,
names, and
yeah,
folks that. Well, TK Production. I was with a record label called Contempo Records in Europe at first.
yeah.
Do you remember that label?
Yes, I remember that.
When I was on that label first, they distributed they distributed Misty Blue first.
Yeah,
And the reason they did that, Malaco put out, they tried to release it and get it, played, but it was going so fast they had to get a bigger label, so they got TK Production to distribute.
yeah.
Uh,
That happens a lot with certain tracks, especially when they've been shelved for a while. And
yeah,
if it goes from a small like shelved track to a
yeah.
major hit overnight, then
They didn't
smaller
want. They didn't want. The labels didn't want to release that record. Malaco tried with everybody. I
uh-huh.
mean, all the big major labels, because Malaco didn't have the money because
Yeah,
Mr. Blue was moving so fast, for his sales and all of that stuff.
yeah.
They needed someone that had the money and the the
The
back.
stance.
Yeah, the backing. Uh-huh.
Well, I tell you what we're going to do, Dorothy. We are going to have a little break for music, all right? And
Okay.
I'm going to play Misty Blue because actually, I'll tell you a little thing about Misty Blue, right? In
Hmm.
my early days when I started DJing back in 1970,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. Right, 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 right.
um, I used to do I used to perform in a restaurant. Would you believe a DJ
Oh,
in
okay.
a restaurant? Uh,
Uh-huh.
there was no dancing. All it was romantic music. But in those days, they didn't have like tape recorders or backing tracks or anything like that. But the restaurant employed a disc jockey just solely to play ballads in romantic music.
Yeah.
And I do apologize. You were the second track I played, but it was my first
Oh,
night
wow.
in this posh restaurant. The first track I played was Just For You.
Mm-hmm.
Just for you, well, baby, I'll give it all to you.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
and then my second one was yours, Misty Blue,
Wow.
because I love it.
Amazing.
Right,
Amazing.
right. We're going to have that break for music, my darling, and then we're going to come
Okay.
back around about 10 or 15 minutes time, and then we'll chat about your progress through the years, through the 80s and 90s, and actually what's happening. Well, what you did actually do in 2002, I think it was, and then bring you up and chat about your brand new album. How's that sound?
Oh, that sounds great.
Okay, Dorothy, stay with us, my darling.
Okay.
Hello, and welcome back to this brilliant, brilliant interview I am having here with Miss Dorothy Moore here on Soul Sensations on Soul Radio USA. Welcome back, Dorothy.
Thank you.
I'm going to chat about a well gospel music.
Okay.
Now, in I think it was '86, you released a gospel album, "Giving It Straight to You."
Right.
Yeah, can you tell our listeners a little bit about that album and why you decided to release a gospel album after your sort of disco trend?
Sure, I can. I happened to be in Tennessee one day. Well, I started singing gospel first before any type of secular music, anyway.
Yeah,
And but about speaking about this album, I I was visiting Tennessee, and a gentleman I ran up on this gentleman who played keyboards for Kenny Rogers, and his name was Steve Glassmeyer. And
right.
where we got in a conversation, about the music. Whenever you find someone with in any type of music, we gonna talk music. We say we leave it, but we never do.
No, no, I never do.
anyway, anyway, he asked me, uh, had I ever thought about doing a gospel album? And I told him, well, not lately, but that's something I've always wanted to do, was a gospel, album.
Yeah,
And he said, well, can we talk about it? And so we talked about it, and we end up recording a gospel album.
hmm,
And we did that album, I know, in several days, maybe 3 or 4 days. It might not have been that. He gave me the songs for me.
uh
Oh, about I guess he gave me about 20, 25 songs to listen to and to choose the ones I liked, and I did. And he recorded every one that I liked. And then he asked me, this is Steve Glassmeyer now. Then he
yeah.
asked me if I had a special song that I wanted to record. And I told him yes. And I recorded the song entitled "What Is This?"
Yeah,
And I
that's what.
think that song sort of made that whole album happen,
Yeah, I was gonna.
And I record, and the label was Rejoice label
Hmm.
that they put this album out on. It was owned by Word Records,
I was gonna.
and
I
on
knew
that.
that. Hmm.
Go ahead.
No, no, I was going to say that I knew about that track. That's why I brought that album up because that was a really it enhanced the whole album completely.
Said what now?
It enhanced the album
Oh yeah,
completely.
oh yeah. But anyway, what I was saying, they had artists on there like Shirley Caesar,
Uh-huh.
uh, the Mighty Clouds of Joy, Al Green. This is on a label called
Rejoice.
Rejoice. Now I don't know. They probably was on Word at first, and
Uh-huh.
then they went on to be on a label called Rejoice, which was the label that I was on as far as to when they released the album.
Yeah.
And Kenny Roger did the album cover.
Wow. Actually, I've heard a little bit of that album, but what I want to do is I'll have a chat with you after we finish the interview. I want to include that whole album on my gospel station that I have, if that's
Ooh,
okay by you.
oh Lord, yes, I would love that. I haven't left gospel. I always, whenever I get a chance,
Uh-huh.
I still sing gospel. Just I just up and sing. I
Yeah.
haven't done any concerts, but the way I do in my secular shows, when I go do festival, blues festivals, R&B festivals, whatever,
Yeah.
I always include one of the songs a gospel song. But I
Yeah.
ask the audience if they want to hear one first, because I don't want to throw something on them that they was expecting. You know, my
If
audience, they want to hear everything they can that I
yeah, well,
recorded. But when I rather ask them, my audience, would they like to hear a gospel song that I've recorded?
yeah.
And I usually get a yes, and I sing my band. And what I do, I don't let the full band play with me.
No.
I just have a keyboard, maybe a drum, a sax, and a guitar, and
Yeah.
maybe sometime the bass. But mostly the keyboard. I give them what was known as far as the musicians back then, back in the 80s, the
Yeah.
late 70s, late 80s. As far as in gospel, because the churches, they didn't have a full band in churches.
No. No, they
Back
didn't.
in those days, it was just the piano, really.
Yeah. Well, funny you should say that because I do. I must admit, I love my gospel music now. I do. I really love it. And
Uh-huh.
in the early days, yes, it was just a piano. Now
Yeah.
I went to on my last visit to Los Angeles. I went to a church. I forget the
Hmm.
name of it now, but it was just around the corner from where Charlotte Crosley lives.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
it was also a food church. Like it was a food refuge, so people who were homeless could go to the church, go to the and we used we the day I was there, we were outside with crates of fruit, just giving them to
Hmm.
the homeless people. But in that church that day, there was a guitarist, lead guitarist, a bass guitarist, a pianist, and there was a horn section, well, not a horn section, but somebody playing horns as well.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was sat and I was totally gobsmacked because everybody was singing and that music was blasting out, and I'm going, wow! And the guitar kicks in and the organ kicked in. And it was like, it's amazing.
Hmm.
Honestly, it is really amazing.
Yeah, but I really, some most of the time I like to sing a cappella.
Yeah,
I did whenever I went to when David Guest booked me there, it was something, I don't know what was going on. We did a long tour at
yeah.
one time, but anyway, we ended up in this big, over 200-year-old chapel that I don't know if we had a concert there or what. We probably did. But
If it was David
anyway,
Guest, you had a concert.
yeah, David Guest was known to be the former husband of Liza Minnelli.
Hmm.
And he booked me a lot of time to do some tours over there
Uh-huh.
when he was, living.
Yeah.
And anyway, at this particular chapel, we all he asked us to sing, different artists saying this and artists saying that. I think, well, Frida Payne was there, Candace Staten was there, Percy Sledge was there, and then he asked me if I wanted to do anything, and I told him okay. And I decided to do something, and he wanted to know, what do I need? Do I need a keyboard? Do I need this? Do I need? I said, no, I'm not singing with any music.
Just give
I'm
me the
singing
mic.
a cappella.
Yeah.
So I sang a gospel in this 200-year-old. Oh, it was a beautiful church. I can't think of it where it was at the time, but it was It might have been somewhere in Liverpool.
I'll try and think because there was one. Well, sorry, there was two major David Guest concerts
Yeah,
for music in this country, and I tell you what I'll do some homework. I'll dig it out and find out where it's at, and if I can,
yeah.
I'll try and get some promotional material from that concert for you. So you can.
And
So
I tell you, this I fell in love with the sound that when I first said my first note.
uh-huh.
I tell you, it sort of bounced off every wall was in that place, and I just loved it. I, I'm so glad that I had experience, singing in different places and this and
Yeah.
all over. It didn't frighten me, and I just continued on. But I'll
Yeah.
tell you, I just loved what I heard.
Yeah.
Came the sound that came through that beautiful church.
Some people don't realize that certain ways a building is shaped and also the size of it, the acoustics when it's
Oh
carried
my.
properly, it's phenomenal.
Yes, and I love going to the churches to perform. A lot of promoters are doing that. I don't know if they still doing that over there.
Uh-huh.
We
I,
did a lot of that, singing some of the chapels.
I think that it should be done more often. I do really think it should be done more often.
That's huh. That's right.
Right. I'm going to take you to now. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I might got this wrong.
Okay.
Uh, was it 2002 you started your own record label,
Yes, it was.
Farish Street? Why
That's
and
right.
how?
Fair Street Records of Mississippi. That's
Yeah,
the full name of it.
yeah. So
And
why did you do it and how?
why did I change? Why did I call it that?
No, no. Why did you make your own record label?
Well, I did that because I wanted creative control.
And take the money.
Hey, listen, I didn't have to answer anyone. I didn't have to. If anyone got fired, it was me, and it would be myself who would do the firing. So,
Yeah.
hey, I'm here to stay. So that was the main reason I get to call the
You
shots.
get to call the shots.
Yeah,
Right.
listen, and I tell you, I didn't know what I was missing, Steve. I really didn't, and I just love it.
It's
I
just
don't I don't
great.
have. It's not a building that I have. It's the
No.
name that I have, so I can record my own material.
Yeah.
And I choose to go where I want to go
Yeah.
to record.
Uh-huh. It's brilliant. It's great when you're your own boss and you can say, right, oh yeah, we'll do this and we'll do
Oh
this.
yeah, yeah, but when someone else tell you, "Oh, I don't like this song," oh, blah 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 blah. But
Yeah, yeah,
see, I know what my fans. I'm this type of artist, Steve. I like to record everything.
yeah.
I you didn't know I could yodel, did you?
No.
I wouldn't dare do it, but I've done
No,
it.
go on, go on,
I've
go on. See if you
I've
can.
done that. I've
Dorothy,
done
go on,
that
try.
in clubs before. Sometimes they have a song, going on cooking real good, the music cooking, and all of a sudden I have the band to bring lower the music, and I just yodel a little bit.
Do you want to yodel a little bit now?
Okay. Let's see. Yodelay, tee, yodelay, yodelay, tee, yodelay, 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 tee, yodelay,
Wow.
tee. you know, hey, don't expect no record. But I'd love to record with Charlie Pride.
I like Charlie Pride. I like Charlie Pride.
Yeah, but these are things that I did when I was a kid,
Yeah,
and I played with music. Most of the little girls, my age when I was like 5, 6, 7,
yeah.
we played with dolls and maybe dinette set or something. I played with music,
Uh-huh.
vocals and different things, yodeling,
Yeah.
just a number of things. That's why I like to sing some of everything. If you notice, that the latest CD, I try to, and that's what I try to do, please my audience with all genres.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about the new album now because it brings us up lovely to it.
Yeah,
Now,
okay,
I got the album of Peggy. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. I
okay.
I listened to it all the way through.
Mm,
Absolutely brilliant. And
oh,
you're right in what you're saying. The different types of genres that are included in that. I still love
oh.
your voice for the ballads, but some of the up-tempo stuff was brilliant.
Well,
So,
thank you.
would you like to tell our listeners about the new album?
Oh, I'd love to. First of all, I tried to go to different studios around. I said I was going to record in Mississippi, and I went around to different studios and to see what and if I liked it. Mostly every studio that I went to, they all recorded the program stuff,
All right.
with the digital and all.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
they still using digital, but keyboards have everything. The drums and the violins and the horns and
Yeah.
I said, "Oh no!" So I finally found one in Vicksburg, Mississippi, and Records is
Yeah. Yeah.
where I recorded.
Uh-huh.
Uh, I guess it's about 45 minutes from Jackson, Mississippi, And in a way, I liked that studio, and I went there, and I called. I decided who I wanted to arrange my music. I had my music in
Yeah,
hand already, what I wanted to record,
yeah,
and the songs that I decided to record, they were from writers who was all friends of mine, except, well, everybody, Gregory Abbott was a writer, Eddie
yeah.
Floyd was a writer, uh, it's just a number of people. Willie Nelson, I recorded one of his, but
Uh-huh.
he wasn't a friend, but I've been known to record something of his before. I recorded that Funny How Time Slips Away on
Yeah.
that Misty Blue album. But anyway,
So was it was
that's
it
what
was
I
that
did. I called the arranger and told him what I wanted. I wanted real horns, real
yeah.
guitar player, bass, keyboard, drums and background singers.
You want the
That's
full
what I
lineup?
wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I got. And so violins, I also put a couple of violins on there too. And I tell you, it was so exciting for me because I hadn't planned to before this album, and it's entitled "I'm Happy with the One I've Got Now."
Uh-huh.
And before this album, I hadn't planned to record anymore at all. And
Seriously.
yes, right, from nowhere, it just came to me, and I couldn't stop the thought. I mean, and the hunger for it. I didn't know I missed it that much. And I tell you, I've I think that was the most fun that I had in any studio in my life because of the creative control.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, you're the boss.
I was the boss. I chose everybody, and I tell you, and I knew just about everybody. They are all Mississippians. It wasn't something that I was trying to do, but just because you know people, you can just pick up the phone and just call and say,
Did it-
"Hey, would you like to do? I'm getting ready to do a CD, blah blah blah," and
yeah.
they would tell me, okay, and so that's the way it happened. And I tell you, oh, I had so much fun. I mean, we did, I think, a jazz song on there. We did a blues
Mm-hmm.
and some R&B, and you know,
It is a it is a mixture of all the genres over the past
well,
80 years.
yeah, that's what I tried to do, and I wanted to make the album interesting.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what I considered, interesting for me, and that's what I wanted, and I tell you, I'm just happy with the what I've got now.
Well, do something. I'll let you into a little secret because I know you don't follow Facebook much, but you can when you do. But I posted something on Facebook. I think it was last week. I think it was
Uh-huh.
just after the conversation me and you had on the phone after I'd finished chatting with Lamont.
Okay.
Um,
Lamont,
uh,
Lam, I
Lamont
know.
Dozier Jr. I
Oh
was,
yeah, okay.
and it was just after I chatted with him, and then we got the phone call. And I posted on Facebook that I just finished chatting with you,
Hmm.
and the amount of hits and messages I got, there's loads of people. You have got a massive, massive fan base out there, and I'm
Oh,
not talking small. I'm talking big.
oh wow. That is so wonderful.
Well, it tells you if you post something on Facebook, we sort something out, and honestly, the hits you'll
Hmm.
get is unreal.
Hmm.
So is this now this new album has it? It has been released, hasn't it, or is it due for release?
Oh yes, it has been released.
Uh-huh. Where can you get it from?
Yes, it has.
Yeah. So how can our listeners get a copy of it?
Well, all the media, as far as the CD Baby, Apple Music, you just name it. I think just on and on, all of those. type. I'm not familiar. I'm kind of dated as far as thinking right off the top of my head those
Uh-huh.
labels now. But all of the labels like that as far as digital and
Yeah.
but since this virus and everything,
I know. Yeah, that's bad.
oh yeah, so it's had a big
It has
thing, negative
it's had a
thing.
tremendous effect on loads of people. It's
Yeah, yeah,
like
and that's for
especially no, I just it's had a tremendous effect on loads of people. Live music, especially because people can't do PAs, they can't go out on tour, they can't promote anything. You know,
oh no, I mean all of that stopped. I had some nice tours going, and wow, I tell you, everything had to cancel. And so anyway, I'm just I just pray that everything come back to life
so
eventually.
so
Uh,
when things get back to normal, are you going to go? Well, not so much on tour, but are you going to go out on the road again, promoting your album?
yes, I'll do a few. I would love to. Again, I had a, quite a few cooking up for this year.
Uh
But
huh.
I tell you again, I mentioned, but yes, I will go out,
How?
and I like to take my full band, the full
Yeah.
band, like horns, background singers,
Nothing
all that
beats
stuff,
live
rhythm
musicians.
section.
Nothing beats live musicians. The amount.
Nothing beats it. I love looking into their eyes, while they're playing, and we can, when you have this, I don't know what it is the feeling you look at each other and it's exactly what each other feeling and saying,
Yeah, it's all
you
down to
know,
feelings. Uh
without
huh.
saying a word.
Yeah. Well, if somebody's on the violin, you can actually see the face that they're putting all of their soul into it. You know,
Yes,
the eyes are
yes,
slightly closed, and
yes.
yep, it's absolutely brilliant. You kind of beat live music. Let's hope
You
everything
can't.
gets sorted out, and then we can start going back and doing all these things.
Uh, and so I tell you, that when you hear that program stuff sort of sound like a rubber band playing
Yeah,
on a drum.
yeah. It's all
So
synthesized. It's like
yeah,
press the button.
but I love it too. I love too what they are getting and everything, but it just I can't get,
Nothing beats live.
nothing beats live. You right, Steve.
So, before we end, uh, how can people follow you? Have you got any social medias platforms like a website, your own website or something?
Well, that's I'm on Facebook. And
Yeah.
I know, and stuff. I have a
Uh-huh.
little Twitter and everything, but
Yeah.
I don't, but I just only have my booking agent, and so I
Yeah.
hadn't quite got. I have a publicist.
Yeah.
You can find that on.
Uh,
Uh,
well,
I
so
have Mark.
I tell you what I'll do, Dorothy. I'll get in touch with your publicist and I'll get in touch with Peggy, and then get,
Yeah,
we'll get all your contacts out there. All right.
right.
Because there's loads of. I spoke to people today in Newcastle. I said, "Oh, look, I'm interviewing Dorothy Moore tonight." Dorothy Moore, are you? I went, "Yeah."
Oh,
Wow. I'm like, "Yeah."
wow.
So your music is really well liked, especially Misty Blue is like just an amazing track. I tell you.
Oh man, I tell and I forgot to tell you. That
What's that?
Misty Blue was done in one take.
Was it?
It was done in one take. When he called me about that song,
Uh
I
huh.
list I went out to the studio and listened to it. Tommy Couch played it
Yeah.
for me. I listened to it and we liked it and we recorded it
There and
right
then,
there.
bang.
One
Wow.
take. And that's when he put it on the shelf for 2 years.
I
And
just mean,
when he took it off the shelf, it didn't have that hum at the beginning.
uh huh.
The intro was very long at the beginning of Misty Blue, and I felt that it needed something, so that's when I put that. You know that part.
Yeah. That I love that. That's the bit that sends me. Honestly, that humming is beautiful.
So that's what I added to
I
shorten the
think
intro.
that is absolutely brilliant. Honestly.
Thank
Before we say our bye byes, um, is there anything you'd like to add? Any thank yous or
Well,
messages?
listen, I loved. of course, I love to come back to the UK again. I
Oh
like.
yeah,
Oh,
you've
that'll
got
be great. That would be great. I like to bring Peggy back this time with me so she can, uh, you know, uh, visit and
yeah.
love it
Uh-huh.
like I do. And of course, I would love to see everybody again, uh, and of course other places, But
Yeah.
yes, and I just want to thank you, Steve, for giving me this opportunity, to share the love that I have for this music, and of course, thank you for keeping me alive.
Yeah, oh
And
man, no, no, there's people out there that still love your music. Honestly, they're still downloading it. They love your music, Dorothy. I just
oh,
wanted to get you
thank
out there with your new album, and let's get this album out going. It's
yes,
brilliant.
yes, that's right. And thank you again.
Oh, Dorothy, the pleasure's been all mine, honestly. What I'm going to do, because I normally go across to Los Angeles, uh, but I've got a few people that live near Mississippi. So that my next time I fly out to America, uh, I'll come and visit.
Please do. We have we have a place I know that's before this virus, that you can
Uh-huh.
go to every Monday night. They have the blues at this
Oh
particular
man,
place. And so it's always blues every week
is
here
it
in
dark? Is it
Mississippi.
dark and smoky?
Oh,
I like it. It's going to be dark and smoky.
oh, I just put it like this. It's the real musicians. That's even better too. You can
Yeah.
get the horns, all of that. And just you never know who might drop in and sing. You never know.
Oh,
And of
brilliant.
course, if you come, I might dedicate you a song.
Oh, that would be lovely. That honestly, I would love that. And you know it's something to dedicate, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Dorothy, it has been absolutely brilliant chatting with you today on Soul Sensations. Honestly, Dorothy, it's been absolutely fantastic.
It's
Thank you
been an
so much.
honor. You're welcome and thank you. Love you.
Love you too, my darling. God bless you.
Thank you.